You can revise the previous what we have covered in the class.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Okay, we'll start. So in our previous class, we have discussed about the pollination. What is pollination? Types of pollination. We discussed about the advantages and disadvantages of self-pollination. If the pollination is taking place between different flowers of the same plant, then it is self-pollination or cross-pollination.
Self pollination.
Self-pollination.
Self-pollination. Nature is preferring self-pollination or cross-pollination.
Cross.
Cross-pollination.
Cross-pollination. So we have discussed about advantages, disadvantages, self-pollination. Cross-pollination advantages, disadvantages have we discussed?
No, sir.
No,
Okay,
sir.
so we'll see the cross-pollination. Cross-pollination. So in cross-pollination, there is going to be the transfer of the pollen from the anther of one flower to the stigma of the flower of another plant. Cross-pollination. So here in cross pollination, the advantages will include healthier and abundant and viable offsprings. Okay, so why it is? Because of the new varieties can be produced. Okay, but in self pollination we are not going to get the new varieties. Even if you do get that new variety, that will take a very long time. The disadvantage of course here is that in cross pollination, that there is a lot of investment of energy. Okay, yeah, exotic flowers need to be made that will interest the pollinators. Huge amount of pollen needs to be produced. Okay, and there is a lot of things that are going to waste. So there is a huge investment of energy and resources. Okay, so that is the only thing, but otherwise, though we may consider this as a disadvantage, but the amount of energy, the amount of effort that is put into to happen this cross pollination, it is resulting in the better new generations. Okay, more stable new generations. So what is going to happen is, when we compare the self pollinated plant with the cross pollinated plant, which species have the higher chance of survival? Because you know that nature has the habit of throwing challenges. Okay, like today COVID is a challenge. Nature has thrown the challenge to the human species. So how the human species respond to that challenge, okay, how we are able to adapt to that challenge, is what makes that particular species able to live for many more generations. If it was by a process, okay, which does not allow the formation of new varieties or new variations, then it is very difficult. We cannot adjust to the changing environment, then we cannot survive very well. So that is what is possible with cross pollination. New varieties will form, so they can survive for a, they can adapt to better changes. Okay, so what are the factors that favor the cross pollination? Page number 40. Okay, the first one is unisexuality. The flower is unisexual means it will have either the androecium or it will have the gynoecium. Unisexual. A plant that is having only one type of a flower, that is either the staminate or the pistillate flower, these kind of plants are called what? They are monoecious or dioecious? They are dioecious. So dioecious. Dioecious plants. So the dioecious plants, they will either have the staminate or the pistillate flowers. So this unisexuality, okay, that is also favoring the cross pollination, because when the same plant will have only male or female, it has to depend upon the other plant. So then the chances of the cross pollination increases. So this is example is in the papaya and palm. In the cucumber, gourd, etc., the male and female flowers may be born on the same plant. Okay, that is also possible. Dichogamy. Dichogamy. Dichogamy, this means the different time of the maturation of the androecium and gynoecium. What is the opposite of dichogamy?
Homogamy.
Homogamy. In homogamy, the androecium and gynoecium will mature at the same time. But here the timing is going to be different. Okay, the time is going to be different. If the male, that is male flower, is going to, the anthers of the flower are going to mature first, then it is called a protandry. And if the stigma of the flower matures earlier than the anther, it is a protogyny. Protandry examples are lady's finger, sweet pea, salvia and sunflower. Sunflower is a protandrous flower, neuter flower, whereas protogyny in the custard apple and people. Okay, the stigma will mature first. Third is self sterility.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So this sunflower, it is neuter flower. So how will it have a male part?
Yeah, it is a neuter flower, as we have seen earlier, that these are called the ray florets of a sunflower. It is having the female reproductive structure. Gynoecium is there, but gynoecium is sterile. It is sterile. It is sterile. So obviously the male is not there. So only the female has to mature first. So it will become the uh, okay. So here it will show the protandry. So the female reproductive structure is what we say sterile. The male reproductive structure will mature first.
So but male structure is not there only.
Is not there. Yes, you are correct.
In
sunflower, it is the neuter flower. So it is not having the male reproductive structure. Yes, this one we have to look into why the sunflower is given as an example. We have to verify this. Okay, we'll check and get
sir,
back.
what is this sign that? And sir, what is this sign that you have made before writing the word different?
It's just like a clock or something. Clock time. The time of maturation is different. Okay. Next, self sterility. What is self sterility? The condition where the stigma will receive the pollen from the anther of the same flower. The pollen fails to undergo further growth. In such case, the pollen from another plant of the same species can effectively complete the process of setting of the seeds. So what is going to happen is, if the pollen of the same flower is coming on the stigma, self pollination is taking place, still it will be sterile. It will not allow that pollen to germinate. Therefore it is favoring the other plant pollen to germinate. Therefore it is encouraging the cross pollination. The self sterility is also one method that will encourage the cross pollination. It is happening in the ray florets of a sunflower, orchids, and so on. The other one is hericogamy. Hericogamy. Okay. Herco means barrier. Herco means barrier, mechanical structure. So it will prevent the pollen to go towards the stigma, because a physical barrier will be present. Okay, like a hood like structure will be present that will act as a barrier to prevent the pollen to go to the stigma. Example is pansy and iris. Hercogamy. Okay. Herco, I don't know how you will try to remember. These terms are a bit strange. So you have to use some kind of thought process. You have to use a Herco. Okay, Herco means you can use a Hercules or something. Something is strong that is acting as a barrier. It will prevent. Like that you can do. Heterostyly.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, covering is there on the stigma.
Between the stigma and the between the stigma and the anther.
Okay, sir. That is different. One can enter, but not the same flower.
Same flower. The same flower. Okay, there is the stigma and anther is there. Okay, anther is there. In between this, there will be some kind of a petal or something will be there in between, like this structure. So what will happen? Even the pollen is releasing from here, it is not getting high chance to sit here. It will just spread out. Okay, so that way it is happening. So we can see that in this pansy, iris also, you will see in the next page also, we will see that example. In pea plant also similar thing is there. Heterostyly means the flowers, the stigma and anthers are going to go at a different height. So that is also going to reduce the chances that the stigma is at a much high place and the anthers are much below. Okay, so in that kind of case also, that reduces the chances of self pollination. That is called a hetero means different style. Both are having different style. One is very tall, one is short. Example is Primrose oxalis. So these are the 5 different factors that are given in your syllabus that are going to favor the cross pollination. Unisexuality, dichogamy, self sterility, heterogamy and heterostyly. So generally the question from this one, confusing terms will be asked quite often. Okay, So dichogamy, homogamy, so they one or two of the factors will be given, and it will ask that this particular factor is going to favor self pollination or cross pollination. That kind of question will be there. Next, agents of cross pollination. Agents, so you know that someone is going to act as an agent to carry the pollen, okay, from one plant to the another. Who is this agent? The agent can be an insect, it can be the wind, water, okay, or it may be much larger animals like elephant, birds, and so on. So the most common one is the insect, that is known as the entomophilus. Entomophilus. Okay, there are number of terms. This chapter may appear to be very dry, okay, but it is your job that you have to write, okay, when the class is going on. Some chapters are, they will be very interesting, okay, because you are able to relate with your daily life and so on. You find it interesting, okay, there are many new concepts and nice things you like about it, you know. Generally the botany part is very dry. Most of the students find it very boring also, okay, because there are a lot of terms and they are not so interesting. Plants are stable, right, they don't move so much. Animals are always moving, so we like something, you know, moving, or something is happening, okay. So but there is no difference when it comes to marking of the examination. The examiner is not going to give you more marks for attempting this questions from animal biology, the zoology, and less from botany, okay. So all of them have the same weightage. You have to apply your mind, okay. The terms come not only in biology but also in other subjects, new terms. How you are applying your mind, okay, to remember these terms, okay, that is how you have to pay your concentration here. You also write in your notebook as we are doing this chapter. Insect pollination is called entomophilus. The study of insects is known as entomology, okay. So entomo, this part is related with something to do with insects, entomophilus. So generally the flowers that are pollinated by insects, they will be large, okay, brightly colored, they have usually some kind of a scent, they will produce some sweet nectar, the pollen will be sticky, stigma will be sticky, the flowers will be in the form of clusters, they will be conspicuous, that is from a very large distance also you can see the flowers, they will be conspicuous. So generally when you see these kind of characters, okay, large bright flowers with sweet nectar and scent and sticky pollen, sticky stigma, and the flowers generally present in clusters, then we can expect that this flower may be an entomophilus flower. It is going to be pollinated by an insect. That is why it is investing so much of energy to make this kind of showy flowers, okay. So example is dahlia. So dahlia, you see, generally they will be also very colorful and all. So this is the insect pollination. Generally the question in the exam will be related to giving 2 or 3 characters and asking which kind of pollination you are expecting in this kind of flower. But when it comes to wind pollination, that is known as the anemophilus, okay, anemophilus, okay. Break down the terms and try to make your own, whatever you like, make up some story, cook up some story, do whatever you want, but you have to remember it, okay. Entomophilus, anemophilus. So wind pollinated flowers are called anemophilus, and they are generally small, they are not brightly colored, they do not produce the scent or nectar. The stamens are long and they hang out of the flower so that they can be exposed to the wind, like in the case of maize. Okay, in the maize we will see, no, some long fibers are coming out. So some people say that it is looking like a beard or something, okay. So that is basically what structure? That is the stamen, okay, that is the stamen. The anthers are large and loosely attached to the filaments so that they with slight wind they can move, okay, and they can they can distribute the pollen. The pollen that is produced is in very large quantities, because wind pollination has to produce huge amount of pollen. Okay, most of it will go waste only. Okay, only by the right kind of conditions, a small stamen from somewhere, small pollen has to cross pollination. Probability has to increase, so you have to produce very large amount of pollen. The pollen grains are light, they are dry and smooth, so that they can be carried easily by the wind. The stigma is feathery and it hang out in order to trap this pollen. Okay, so these are some characters that we see in the case of wind pollinated flowers. In the case of wind pollinated flowers, small, not brightly colored. Important part here is the stamens are long and feathery. Okay, the stamens will be like feathers, they will act like filter for the wind and it will catch the pollen. The pollen themselves will be light, dry and smooth. Okay, that is the important character with anemophilous flower. Water pollination, water as an agent of pollination. So water we know, we say as the hydrophilus. Now in hydrophilus, flowers that are obviously growing in water, they would require this to be pollinated by agent water. You can see in figure 5.3, the name of the plant is Vallisneria. Important example, repeating question, Vallisneria. When you observe, there are the two plants that are shown in this figure 5.3, page number 41. Male plant, female plant. Male plant, the flower is very close to the surface, down, not water surface but down to the ground. Huge number of flowers will be formed. Generally in the pond you may observe this kind of during the flowering season. You will find the small flowers are distributed, huge number of flowers it will produce. Vallisneria. The female plant, its flowers are floating. Okay, you can observe its flowers are floating on the surface of the water. So whatever this huge number of male flowers that are being produced, they will be floating and they will reach the female flowers. Okay, the pollen will be released. Now this is through water and we don't know exactly the location of the female and male flower, may be very far. So huge numbers have to be produced. So what are the characters here? The pollen grains that are produced are in large numbers. The pollen grains have a specific gravity almost equal to that of water, so that they can remain floating below the surface of water. So what is a specific gravity? Can anyone say what is specific gravity? Density. Yes, that is correct. Density. So you can say specific gravity of water. You can say specific gravity of any substance. That means it is density. But you are using the term what? Specific. So what is the meaning of specific there? It is specific to what?
Relative to water.
Water. Yes. Specific means it is relative to water. So when you say the specific density of a given substance, here for example the pollen grain is almost equal to that of water. So we are taking the density of water to be how much?
1 gram per second.
1 gram per ml. Yes. So we are taking as a unit. We are taking as it is the unit of density. Okay, the density of water we are considering as a unit, but is it absolute? Is the density of water is absolute when we say 1? These are all relative, no? It is not absolute. So here when we are telling relative to water, the density of the pollen is the same. So it will float, it will not sink, it will float. And in some special cases the male flower are such that they float on the surface of the water till they meet the female flower. Okay, that is in the case of Vallisneria. This is important example I told you earlier. Some flowers are pollinated by birds. Birds, the study of birds is known as
Ornithology.
ornithology. Yes, ornitho. In the case of pollination, we will say ornithophily. Okay, so there are some plants like bignonia and canna. Okay, these form a bit large size flowers, bignonia and canna. So you can see that hummingbird kind of birds, they have a long probing kind of beak, so they will take the nectar from these kind of flowers. So these flowers that are pollinated by birds are known as ornithophily. They are showing ornithophily. This can be carried out pollination by very huge animals like elephants also, because there are some flowers that are really very huge. Elephophily. Huge, the largest flower that is known on earth is
Rafflesia.
Rafflesia. Okay, you can Google this one. So this Rafflesia is a very huge flower. So for such a huge flower, there is a huge pollinating agent. The pollinating agent for that huge flower is a huge animal, that is the elephant. Next, these are all natural methods of pollination. Okay, there may be some artificial means of pollination also. Okay, artificial pollination. Whereas till now we saw these all examples were carried out by nature. Okay, purposefully anyone is not doing pollination. Insect, we don't know that it is doing pollination. It is only going for the sake of nectar. Wind doesn't know that it is doing pollination. No one knows here they are doing pollination. Just nature has made such a design that pollination is going on. But this pollination can also be artificial, that is, we are doing it on purpose. Purposefully we are doing. Humans are doing it on purpose. So this kind of technology of artificial pollination is very ancient, because from long time back we know that new characters can be obtained by doing this cross pollination. These plant breeders, okay, scientists, all of them, they want to develop the new varieties, they will do cross pollination by artificial method. So what basically they are doing is, suppose this is a bisexual flower, okay, stamen is there and anther is there, cut out the stamen, okay, remove this androecium part, okay, stamen is removed. So now it is left with only the stigma. Whichever other plant we want the pollen, that characters, other characters we want, we will take that pollen and dust on this one. After that, close it with a polythene bag. Okay, so there is no chance for any other random pollen to come and sit and do the fertilization. So very specifically we are doing the targeted pollination in this method. Two steps were there. First, removal of the stamen is called emasculation. Emasculation, removal of stamen. Okay, next, bagging. That is nothing but putting one polythene sheet or something and closing it, because we don't want any other pollen to come and sit on the stigma. Okay, that is bagging. So basically these two steps are there. So purposefully we are doing this, is called the artificial pollination. So far, any doubts you have? All of you are solving end of chapter questions? Are you
Yes, sir.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Are you getting any issues with that? Any problems you are facing? Okay. So whatever
No,
is
sir.
there, maybe in between we can have one class in which I will be putting random questions I will ask to the students, that I will do. And let me see. Maybe before your test we can have one same type of MCQ test, online test. We'll do it on Google Classroom. Google Forms we'll use, and we can do that one. We'll try to do that. Okay. Thank you all.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So we read about hercogamy and heterostyle. So, sir, in that, in case if it happens that the pollen reaches the same, the stigma of the same flower, so will there be no pollination taking place?
In the case of self sterility only it will happen. This process of hericogamy or heterostyle is different height. Hericogamy is mechanical, it is protecting. So in both case it is only to prevent, but if it goes and the pollination takes place, it will produce, it will fertilization will take place, no problem with